Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I'm just going to react to this video real quick.
So this is just, I mean, I really can't describe how much I disagree with this.
It seems to be more of a random arbitrary disagreement rather than a legal one.
I just don't think these things should be available, even if the people involved have volunteered to submit to it, right? So a Vienna court has ruled that a €320,000 arbitration under Shariah law is valid in Austria. The case involved two men who agreed to settle their contractual dispute according to Islamic law, specifically following the...
I built a personal AI assistant using...
I can't tell you how much I dislike adverts.
Sana wal Jamar principle.
I'm not gonna be mean to him about his pronunciation there, because he doesn't speak Arabic, I assume. So.
According to the private arbitration tribunal, one man was ordered to pay the other $320,000, but challenged the ruling, arguing that Sharia is ambiguous, arbitrary, and incompatible with Austria's fundamental legal values. Well, the question would be, why did you agree to the contractual dispute being arbitrated in Islamic court?
That's exactly the point. So you can, my understanding, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but it's that you can, in Austria, you can choose to have a third-party arbitration that's legally binding, and that's what they chose, and they chose it to be a Shariah arbitration. So it's legally binding, and then the person lost, and then argued that it wasn't legally binding, and then another court in Austria upheld that decision. They were like, well, yes, it is, because it doesn't actually violate Austrian law. So that's roughly what I believe happened. If you know more about it, then comment below. But that's what I actually believe happened. But it is funny to watch how they're kind of changing it to try and say it's a takeover or something. I believe GB News said exactly that it is a takeover.
Since you could have just gone for an Austrian court, but the Regional Court for Civil Law Matters confirmed the decision. They said, no, this is fine. They confirmed the arbitration decision without reviewing which specific Islamic rules applied, stating they only need to ensure the outcome did not violate the fundamental principles of Austrian law. But what they're doing there is saying that the Islamic law is binding in Austria.
No, they're saying an arbitration is binding in Austria, which it is, and I believe it's also binding in Britain, from what I understand. And they're saying that because this arbitration doesn't violate Austrian law, it's not a problem. And it's legally binding.
Even though they agreed to it, well, if you volunteered to be arbitrated by a fake court,
not a fake court, but he clearly doesn't quite understand the minutiae of Austrian kind of legislation and how it quite works. I'm not saying I do, but I think a quick Google search would make him realize that that's not what's happening here.
Then it's got no power to impose this upon you?
It literally does have the power to impose it upon you. Again, by my understanding, how this works is they literally do have the power to impose this.
And so the civil court's like, yeah, no, that's fine. Like, that's totally fine. It's like, that's mental, mate. And I would be completely against this. I would be, absolutely against this just being allowed at all. And again, people will say, well, they're making sure that the Sharia court doesn't violate any of the principles of the Austrian law. So the Austrian law is superior. So yeah, in this case now...
Is he about to use the word slippery slope?
But this is the normalization of a very, very slippery slope, in my opinion. And either way, why should it not be that all legal decisions have to first and only go through Austrian courts? I don't care if they want to play act a Sharia court. You shouldn't be validating that with an Austrian court. You should just say this isn't any kind of valid legal ruling.
Again, I think a quick Google search would tell him that it is literally a valid legal ruling, and that's how arbitration works.
Because this wasn't a recognised Austrian court, and therefore it doesn't matter whether you volunteered for it.
It does matter if you volunteered for it. It's also kind of weird that he seems to be for liberty and free speech and freedom of movement and kind of association and all of that, except when he doesn't agree with that. It seems odd.
Instead, the agreement is now legally binding and has to be respected. So the Sharia court is a valid court in...
I mean, it's the most valid court morally, but yeah, it's also a valid court in Austria, and that's how arbitration works.
Austria, according to Austrian courts,
And by the way, this is civil law, not criminal law.
according to their own legal system. So that's terrible, I think.
It's not terrible.
Especially as they've made no legal judgment on Sharia themselves. So
Yeah, they don't need to. They've made a legal judgment that they don't need to make a legal judgment.
like this, they say this doesn't set any precedent regarding the validity or acceptance of Islamic criminal law.
So what's your problem with it? It can't create a slippery slope if it doesn't create a precedent for that. So,
Well, I mean, I think it does, to be honest. I'm not saying
no. So apparently this guy seems to be disagreeing legally with the ruling, I guess, on the fact that it isn't a precedent. There isn't a precedent here.
it's going to be cited in future cases. But the problem is it just normalizes this as an accepted part of European life.
That's how this law works. If you don't like it, then change the laws around arbitration. But you can't start complaining about the law that exists in civil cases.
Austrian life. I'm very much against this kind of thing. And I don't see why we should recognize a foreign law at all in any country in Europe.
I mean, technically, international law is a foreign law, so yeah. But Sharia isn't a foreign law. That seems a bit of a strange way to kind of put it. I mean, should the Africans that colonialism kind of subjugated have accepted British law? I mean, that's a foreign law. It's literally a foreign law. It's tied to a country, Britain, which isn't in Africa. And so when they go over and establish laws and stuff, is that a problem? I have a feeling he doesn't believe that it is. So it's a bit of a double standard there.
And I mean this even down to the sort of narrow countries themselves. Austria shouldn't be recognizing French law, etc., etc.
But Sharia isn't a country, is it? So it's not the same thing. And if I believe, and again, I might be wrong, but I believe if they made an arbitration, if they agreed to arbitrate under French law and they had third parties and legal rulings, and that French law didn't violate the Austrian law, then they could do that. So even then, it's a bit of a, you should, according to this guy, you should be able to kind of do whatever you want unless it's bad, by harming other people, and this doesn't harm other people. So again, double standard.
Totally against all of this sort of stuff, and I just don't understand why we're allowing this. They can play act in whatever court that they like. But if you want actual legal standing and have something actually to be legally binding, then surely you would have to go to an Austrian court.
No. Again, quick Google search would tell you that you don't. You can, in terms of civil law, you can go to arbitration.
Because otherwise, you're essentially saying, yeah, anyone can just do whatever they want when it comes to legality and making someone pay someone else money. I mean, did he do anything wrong under Austria?
No, you can't just make someone pay money just randomly. That both parties have to agree to go to the arbitration.
In principles of law, that's the question. I'm not saying it violated the principles, as in, it's not punishing with whipping or stoning or something, but according to an Austrian legal standard, is the guy guilty? And that's what the Austrian court should have been investigating.
I'm gonna probably leave it there because I don't think he's going to say any more. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.